Hello, everyone.
Hello, everyone.
Hola. Buenas noches. Good evening. Buenas. Ayasumi.
Bonjour.
Bonjour.
Bienvenue à la bibliothèque.
What? I don't speak any French. But welcome everyone, and hello, Ali, my wonderful co-host. We are here for another episode of the Ali Renie Show, and we're going to be talking about world building, and the subject of the day is creating fantasy histories. And I am as on time as usual, which is never, so I'm sorry, but I was doing a member stream, so
yeah,
because I owed everybody a member stream, and I had to get it in before the end of the month. But we're here now, and
she was on time for her member stream.
Mostly on time. If I'm fine with going late, but you don't have to if you don't want to, Ali. I know. But if you guys want to make up for some time and stream late, that is fine. I've been dealing with all kinds of crazy shit, yo. It's been rough. I bitch about it on the member stream. It's tough. Terrible.
I'm sorry that you guys can't see my face. My light is dead, and I stabbed it to see if I could make it work.
What?
It didn't work.
Okay.
So
that is the most Ali thing I've ever heard. My light is dead, and I stabbed it to see if it would come back to life, but it didn't. Well, I mean, usually when things break, I stab them and it fixes it, so I don't. You might have just not stabbed it enough times.
No,
that's my advice.
I used to stab it to make it work, but now the stabbing doesn't work anymore. I'll take a picture of it. It cracked, and so I started stabbing it with my tweezers to make it go, and now it doesn't work anymore, and there's like 12 more holes in it, so I'm just gonna get a new one. But if I don't have the light, it's like you can't even see me. Even though my ceiling light is on, it's just this darkness. I would bet money you have candles. I do have candles, but it is so hot in my room. If I burn candles, like, I will die.
It's probably like the backlighting, because you need a camera from, like, cameras are weird. You need the lighting to be coming from in front of you, like this one. Otherwise, it looks really dark, even if your room is bright.
I mean, if I could do like 10 candles, but I would just be like gross and sweating. It would be terrible.
It is really hot now. It's proper summer. I'm sorry that your light is broken.
You're like 3 hours north of me, so 4 hours. 3 or 4.
It's still hot. It's Georgia.
Yeah. It's been like muggy and bleh.
It's been pretty bleh. It's been pretty gross.
Our pool was like it wasn't almost out of water, but it was so low that the pump wasn't working. It was bad. Ali, just wear a sheet. Pretend you're a ghost. All my sheets are red. That's a horrible ghost.
Just pretend you're a blood-soaked ghost.
Yeah, I'll pretend that I'm in The Handmaid's Tale, and I'm a feminist.
Yeah. Well.
Ooh, spooky feminism is coming to get all of your IPs.
No. Victimhood.
I will eat them and ruin the IPs. Nom nom nom.
God. So my kitchen exploded. That's my problem that I'm dealing with.
I thought you said it was a leak. That sounds worse.
It's a leak. It didn't really explode. It was a leak, but the leak leaked over into my cabinets and onto the floor, so there's a lot of damage. And by the way, if you guys hear some weird humming noise in the background, it's because I'm in the room next to my kitchen, and there's no way of like putting a bigger barrier between the sound. I have an industrial dehumidifier in my kitchen right now to try and dry out the damage before my contractors come in, and we'll probably have to rip everything out and replace it. So, yeah.
What did they...
So before
What did they quote you? Like 10 grand to fix it? It's like everything takes 10 grand to fix now.
It's probably, yeah, like house stuff is just, everything is like, if it's like small stuff, it's like, I just expect like 2 grand. And for any renovation, it's like at least 10 grand. But it's a fucking pain in the ass because some of the tile is apparently damaged. And with the way tile works, you can't just take out one area. I might have to take out like a huge, like basically.
Oh, yeah. They have to bring in the miniature jackhammers for that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that's nice. Yeah. That's great. So that's going to be.
They got our whole house redone. And they came in with miniature jackhammers, and there's still like dust and stuff on things from it.
Yeah, if that happens, like I'm just gonna move everything because my bedrooms don't have the same flooring, thank God. So I'm just gonna move everything to the bedrooms. So if I disappear for a couple weeks, that's what's happening. Because I'm so glad I don't have an active campaign right now, and I'm not doing fulfillment. Like, thank fuck. Oh, yeah. I'm so glad I like this. I mean, this sucks. But at least it didn't happen in the middle of my campaign, right? Because I might have to go to a hotel for a few days.
Sola says, beat him to it, start axing that floor. No, like, it wouldn't even work that way. Like, freaking tile on the floor is such a pain. Like, she doesn't even want, look, she already has a headache. Let's stop.
Yeah, it's horrible. There's just and it's like, well, you have to find tile that matches, and this is old tile, so I'm hoping we don't have to, but honestly, part of me is like, you know what? Just get it all fixed. Just get it all fixed. Just to get it all done. I spent so much money on this house. If you guys can please, if someone can please link my store. Actually, I'm gonna link my store. If you could be so kind as to get some Fiendish merch.
Somebody linked your store saying to get a beanie.
Yes, I have beanies. I have Fiendish hoodies, and I'm going to be putting up some prints really soon because everything I have on there is like black and white art, and I have like some overflow of Fiendish 1 that I'm shipping out right now. But I'm going to put up some posters, some new stuff. If you can please get something from the store, if you so fancy, if you like anything, that would really help. Thank you.
Solo linked it. There it is.
There you go. Thank you. I'm going to pin that before we get started, and there. And I'm going to not complain about my personal problems for the rest of the evening, but just so everybody knows, it would really help me right now if you considered looking at my store. All right, on to the show, everybody. All right.
You did the intro. Let's do this show.
Let's do the show. That's how it works.
It's been a long time.
It has. It has. It's been like, we skipped a few weeks, haven't we? It's been so long, Allie.
I know, and I'm sorry. That's partly my fault.
It's fine. Life happens.
I had to go across the state. Incidentally, I had to go to Tampa.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh.
Where I'll be again.
Yeah, you will. We're going to...
Except there won't be. Tampa. I won't be there, chat.
Yeah, you won't be. That's right. What? Nothing's happening. Anyways, so that was a super generous word. Well, thank you. I would appreciate that as well. Yeah, nothing's happening. What are you talking about? Nothing's happening in July. Yeah, well, I'm glad to be back doing this show again. I missed it. I love talking about world building and writing. And today we are hoping to talk about creating histories for our fantasy worlds. That is the subject. I don't really super know where to start. We kind of decided on this like 10 minutes ago, or like an hour ago before my last stream. But yeah, it's if you guys have any questions in chat pertaining to the subject, feel free to let us know. It's kind of an organic show. We kind of just chit chat about writing and answer questions from chat pertaining to the subject. So I guess I will. Oh, hold on. One super chat from Jonathan Justice. Thank you so much, Jonathan. I'm going through the same thing. I had stormwater damage so bad I'm going to need the second and third floors of my house replaced. I feel
Oh my god.
Oh god. I'm so sorry. We had some really bad storms in Georgia. I don't know if you're in Georgia, Jonathan, but over in just the south a couple weeks ago, and there was a lot of damage with that. I mean, this year has just been bad. In the winter, we had like the polar vortex, so a ton of pipes burst from the polar vortex, right?
Yeah.
Because it's just like nobody knows to drip their faucets here. It was like fucking, it was retarded. But and then we just had a storm. There was a bunch of damage, but this damage is like I wish I could say, but it wasn't storm damage. It was just like the plumber didn't do the plumbing right, but they can't cover it because it's past the time. My insurance isn't covering it. I'm trying to see if someone can help me, but most likely not, because nobody really wants to help you with these issues. And I'm sorry that you're dealing with similar problems, Jonathan. I hope that you can get insurance or something to cover it, because I think like usually there's like a special thing with natural disasters. So I hope you get some help.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now go sell it for 10. Thank you. Have the histories you created ever spun off into new stories? That's a great question to kick us off. Do you want to take that, Ali? Or take that?
Yeah, sure. Actually, kind of. So once upon a time, when I was young and I had first started writing what would become Rotting Crown, which is my fantasy novel that is prose, not a comic. I wrote this weird short story where this like slave master prince gets like cursed by this little girl that he kills, and then and that's where I came up with Neolites, my albino race. And one like takes him to what is it, like a cabin in the woods or something, and the curse is his arm is really long. Like he just has this really messed up, gnarly looking arm that's really long and heavy and gross.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I was like 16. That was the best I could do at the time. And he's just like despairing over this. And, my plan was like, he's going to learn how to, I don't know, be a good person through this arm thing where the slave like helps him. I don't know. I didn't even finish the story. But when I wrote it, I was like, ooh, I'm going to turn this into the history of Pearl, the land from Rotting Crown. And I decided, I think last year when I was actually doing what the story is now, to just scrap that whole thing. So none of that actually happens.
It's changed since then, I would assume.
It's literally almost totally different, except for that. So I called him Marcus at the time because that was my like stepbrother's name, and I liked it. But I was like, yeah, it's too like human-y, It sounds too earthy.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'll change it to something like that sounds sharp, I was like, ooh, Varkis with a K, like that's scarier. Right. And so he's Prince Varkis. And he's still evil, but now he's like much more of a fiend. He's totally incapable of redemption. There's no goodness within. And he still does like slave master stuff, but like his hand doesn't get all long.
He doesn't have the strongest pimp hand ever, according to BS4.
No. I'll have to dig it up though, because like I was really proud of my description of his like gnarly hand. Like for 16, I read it a lot and I was like, this is so brilliant.
You make it all like gross and like Akira-ish from like
I'll find it and I'll be like, oh dear, I won't read this. This is trash. But so
Allie's been special since she was 16.
Yeah.
In a good way.
It's Varkis with an I, K-I-S.
Varkis. That's a nice name though.
Yeah, it's better than Marcus. Plus, like, well, never mind. So Yeah, and it wasn't even supposed to be part of the same story at first, but I kind of merged it. I had like
Yeah.
10 different stories. Well, actually, I told you at first Rotting Crown was supposed to be like a 15 book like epic with all these different versions or whatever, and I totally forgot. But I found it all on my floppy disks. So yes, kind of.
Oh, cool.
What about you?
What about me? What was the question? I'm gonna go back. A history have the histories you created ever spun off into new stories? No. I mean,
Not unless you
so
count, probably I would guess your like histories of your people, because all of your people, all of your races or whatever have different histories, obviously,
yeah,
right?
yeah. I mean, but the thing is, it's also just how I work as a creator. I tend to like create one long thing and stick with it. I don't tend to, and also like I write and I draw, so it takes me forever to create anything. And Fiendish is like it's like I'm working on just Fiendish, and Fiendish is like, well, that's the next 10 years of my life or more. And it's not really Fiendish isn't really related to anything I've created in the past. I created some other things in the past. Some are like, I mean, I created short comics, like one issue short comics. I did a web comic for a while, and I had another story that was like I was thinking of writing it as a novel. It was just an idea that I thought I would write as a novel, and I realized once I started writing that I suck at prose and I should stop. So I might make it a comic again in the future. But yeah, no, nothing. It hasn't. Nothing's really been related. It's sort of more. There are certain themes that I just like to explore in the stuff I write that have carried over. But as far as the histories go, I'm hoping that because the world of Fiendish is so expansive and there is a lot of histories behind all the different locales and with the different races in my world, I can say in the future some of the point five stories, which are the bonus chapters between the main chapters, will be exploring the histories. I'm hoping, I don't know yet if I'm going to do one that's like going back in time, but I would like to. I would like to do because there are certain historical events that I really want to explore more. And there's like 1.5 chapter that's set in the present that's kind of like a side adventure that the characters have, but it ties into sort of like this leftover history that we kind of peripherally know about in the main story. And I would like to do another point 0.5 chapter that is like an entire flashback, like hundreds of years ago. So, but it's nothing that I've done yet. But yeah, just because like what I'm doing with Fiendish is kind of it's super expansive. I'm planning on exploring more, but I'm just on book 2 right now. Though with this is it's not really pertaining to histories. It's more like pertaining to, I wouldn't say recycling work or re. Yeah, I guess that's kind of a crude way of saying it, but the webcomic idea I had from years ago, it was it's this webcomic called Shaman Child. Yes, I've had a fascination with shamans for a long time. It's I'm
You?
thinking of yeah. I'm thinking of I might redo it in the world of Fiendish. So that's kind of a thought I've had because I like the story and there's some magic in it that would fit into the world of Fiendish. So I'm thinking of making it a fantasy thing instead of originally it was a real world setting with some magic, and I'm thinking I can just make it entirely a fantasy thing and kind of like just make it cooler and just amp it up and just make the style, give it more pizzazz. So it would be like a shorter, probably like 2 or 3 books kind of thing, but maybe, maybe,
Maybe.
maybe, maybe. Don't listen to us, Shaman King ripoff. No, it's not. I actually haven't even watched Shaman King. Have you ever read Shaman King, Irie? No, I haven't. There you go.
It is impossible for her to rip anything off because she hasn't seen anything.
Yeah, exactly. this is how I avoid ripping things off. I just don't consume any media. Though, that book I mentioned, I think on, I think I mentioned it. When did I mention it? Last week on the Creative Block. I'm pretty sure this novel I read, Wool, WOOL, like yarn wool. I just saw that there was actually some Apple series, like a TV series based on it, because I remember really liking the book, and I was talking about it in relation to environment design. So I read books sometimes, guys. The yellow spider guy. You noticed me, senpai. You are noticed. You are noticed. Hail, hail, Tokame. Tokame, I was just showing off the artwork that you sent. Thank you so much. That looked awesome. I showed it off in the member stream. I don't know if you're a member, but it looks like you're not. But I showed it off, and thank you so much. Well, damn. Well, damn. All right, damn. I'm making a new Shaman King. It has nothing to do with Shaman King. Literally nothing to do with it. The story is about this. Actually, when Moana came out. Okay, so I don't actually have any of my Shaman Child books with me. It's so the story is about this teenage girl who lived in a seaside village who had to. She is set in the modern world, but they have this like ancient tradition in the village of they still have like a shaman's lineage, and the shamans are like this lineage of people that can see nature spirits, and they kind of like protect the land, and they do like all kinds of funeral rites, religious ceremonies, shit like that. And some crisis happens in town, and it's up to this teenage girl to sail out to make amends with the sea god with a couple of her friends. And for various reasons, like it's kind of like the adults couldn't do it, but also she's being a little like rebellious twat, and she just sails out on her own. But yeah, and then so she's this like dark skinned teenage girl with curly dark hair who lives in a seaside village who needs to sail out to a sea god. And then I had this idea forever, and I was kind of doing a webcomic on and off, but nobody really seemed interested, so I got really dejected about it, and I stopped. And then Moana came out.
Oh, no. That's all right. Moana's not that good anyway.
I actually haven't seen it, but it's just the designs. No, the designs. I'm like, no. But clearly they didn't steal anything from me. Like nobody pays attention to my shit. I know. It was just like a weird coincidence where I'm like, oh, I wish that was my story on the screen. Well, maybe someday I'll be good enough. Because it looks so much like my character. It was like this weird thing. But anyways, yeah, so I'm hoping to redo that in the world of Fiendish, maybe in time.
Do you Rumble? Hey, welcome, Rumble Aru. Do you
Hello?
both see your stories set in the present time of your world, or are they set in a past time that has a modern future like our own, kind of like Lord of the Rings?
Yeah, that's a great question. What
I've never thought about it. So I don't know. Yours is on a whole different planet.
For me, I think of it as a separate universe. So it's like it's not just an alien planet. It's not like Star Wars where it's like, well, it's a galaxy far, far away. No, for Fiendish, I have kind of thought about this. In my mind, the universe in this world I created is kind of like it regenerates. Like if you know about toroidal space, I know some people think it's bullshit, but in my world, it's real, and the universe like restarts. So this is like the world of Fiendish takes place in a different iteration of the universe. So it's like an Earth parallel, but it's not a parallel universe. It's another iteration of our universe. So that's why it's like there are creatures similar to humans, but even humans, what are called humans in my book, are a little different than us are. And that's why there's like certain powers, and the way like the elements and physics work are a little different. So that's how I logicalize it, if that makes sense.
Logicalize
it, yeah.
I've honestly never thought about it, so I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
The time that it would be closest is like a Middle Ages sort of thing, just due to the technology. They have locking mechanisms and hinges So, because they even have hinged weapons, which I did research on to see how how long ago, you know, humans thought of weapons with hinges, like knives and stuff that you can like flip out. Um, so medievally, I guess, but yeah, I don't know. I don't have like a year thing. Irene, are you able to see past the veil? Veil. Somebody asked you how many hours you draw a day.
It depends. If I'm like rushing to finish a book, I mean, I was working like, I don't know, I was like not sleeping for a month. Maybe it depends. Like right now, I'm doing a lot of writing, and I mean, I guess thumbnailing is also drawing. I draw all day. I draw all day, but it's kind of like an on and off thing because I'll do a lot of layouts and sketches, and then I bounce between that and writing. I'm in this weird place where I'm between campaigns, so like it's like when I'm, like a couple months ago, I was doing nothing but inking. That was my primary task: finish inking Fiendish 2, and nothing else matters. But right now, I'm just doing a bunch of miscellaneous stuff, um, on top of talking to contractors and insurance about my disaster of the house, and on top of talking to like printers and factories. But yeah, I'd say on average, maybe it's like more than a full workday at least. It's at least maybe 8-9 hours on average. Slava Boga for 2. Thank you. Hi, Pani Renie. Pan-Slavism, is it a total pipe dream? So
What's
I'm not sure.
Oh, okay.
I'm not. I was just going to say I don't know that much about Pan-Slavism. I kind of know about it. Um, it's this weird thing where I'm really interested in the Slavic aesthetic, but it's hard to find resources if you don't speak any Slavic languages, because it's like there's a lot of, I found some art, and it's like I've gone on deep dives on the web just looking for art with like fantasy Slavic stuff, and like it's like, well, you kind of have The Witcher, but The Witcher is not that Slavic. It's a little bit, there's a lot of Slavic stuff integrated into it, but it's not like full on Slavic. And then you have some other stuff that is like ancient. It's like there's a lot of Nordic stuff, right? There's a lot of accessible Nordic fantasy that's probably just because Nordic culture is closer to Anglo culture, but also it's just kind of more widespread. But I find Slavic culture fascinating, but there's so few resources that I can consume in the languages I know. But yeah, it's mostly I just have like a bunch of art from artists who paint like fantasy Slavic.
I have a
Slavic
good
gods.
link to like an ebook on the Norse language if you want to see it. I can send it to you.
Okay, sure, yeah. I have
Um,
a few books on Old Norse, but I'd love to have more if I don't.
I know you would.
Yeah.
John asked, in creating world history, do you start at the story time and work backward, start in the history and work forward, or something else?
Uh,
Mine was kind of all over the place. I created history as I needed it, mostly.
Kevin Ryan, you're canceled.
Has every oh
I'm
gosh.
sorry.
Wow.
Yeah, I didn't even answer. I'm sorry. It's Pan-Slavism, so I don't know.
Oh,
But
that's
it's,
funny.
yeah, it's one of those things. It's like unified Chinese culture, realistic. Right? I don't know, but maybe. Sorry,
I thought you had answered it. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off.
I didn't really answer it, but the answer is I don't know. But thank you. Okay.
Oh, okay. Sorry, chat and Rainy.
Okay.
Oh yeah, I created history as I needed it. The best way that I create history, and this is gonna sound silly, but I start with once upon a time whenever I write anything. I usually cut it out, when I go back and edit it again. But for some reason that just like that like lubricates the rest of the writing process for me. Like, even sorry, uh, even with Egg Beater, it's like once upon a time there was a baker. Like, I don't know what it is, but that just works really well. So when I needed a backstory for my queen, my evil queen, it was once upon a time there was 2 princesses, and one was rebellious and carefree, and the other one was obsessed with duty and romance. Like, and it just flows from there. And it kind of went to a horrible place with the whole burning pregnant women at the stake and the baby like being born, and her, doing some infanticide and all that stuff. and
Fun.
becoming necromancy through the baby paste and all that.
Jesus Christ.
Look, just read it for context. Read it for context, chat. It's still horrific, but like the way I talk about it sounds flippant. But like, how I don't want to bring it down. That's just what happens, That's the history of it, man.
Yeah, I mean, I understand. Well, knowing how it happens in your story, it makes sense because it's not like you're just putting in stuff like, well, this evil character was created from mashed up baby paste for no reason to be edgy. It makes
sense
my wizard
creation. My wizard's not evil.
Okay, interesting. So he's more utilitarian?
Yeah, he does everything. His creation was evil, so he believes he's evil. And the things that he does, he's trying to do for the greater good. So he thinks it's all like excused because in the end, what he hopes will be the end result will be good.
Right.
That's my Frankenstein type, Frankenstein's monster type creature. So
makes sense. Yeah. So more strictly utilitarian, but does things that people would consider evil. Brian Crisco's in the house. What's up? Ali, every writer I know has a ritual of some kind when they're writing. Those first words are always the hardest.
I've never had a problem writing first words because all my first words are once upon a time. And then it flows from there. And then when I go back and I edit, I just delete the once upon a time part.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for me, I don't.
A writing hack.
Right. I don't super have a problem getting started. It's like, I think every writer does this, but I have a lot of ideas. It's just I realize after a few paragraphs usually that they're shit or they're just not good enough for what I want to create. But like the hardest part is always the middle, though. Like getting started is not that hard, I think. It's more like getting started, but then like making everything connect and figuring out what's between the beginning and end and making it good. Like that's what's important. That's what's hard.
Damien for $2 gave you a super chat asking what happens if you draw with your non-dominant hand.
I've got a few super hats to catch up, so hold on. Who's got
super hats. They're super hats now.
They're super hats? Why are they super hats?
That's what you just said.
Did I say super hats?
Yeah.
I'm not even drunk, guys. It's just how fried my brain is from everything that's going on.
I thought that was some sort of reference to some previous stream. It was like an inside joke, and I was like, oh, okay.
No, I'm just fucking stupid. Hold on.
Because Comicsgate is a hat group. They're super hats.
It's a hat group. Yeah, hold on.
I think. Are you sure it wasn't a gas leak and you're not?
It might be a gas leak. There might be a gas leak, and I've been slowly dying.
Oh,
so
no.
On top of a water leak, I had a gas leak.
Oh, dude, your writing's gonna be so gnarly though.
It's gonna be so great because I'm just gonna be hallucinating the whole time.
There you go, witch hat, nice.
Yay! So
I like your witchy hat.
Thank you. Isn't it cute?
Yeah.
Boing. I got it at a Ren Fair. All right, so there you go. Now I'm on theme for the rest of the show.
Yeah, I could. If you could see me, I could wear my leather mask. I got a leather mask at a Ren Fair.
You have a leather mask? Of course do have leather mask?
Of course
I don't have a leather mask. I have a...
It's like a... it's not like a weird one. It's like a... like a labyrinth one that looks like it would be on like a goblin or something. It's not like a weird
I know.
kinky one.
Yeah. I have elf ears and I have a hat, but I can't wear them at the same time because the elf ears poke into the hat.
You'd have to cut holes in the hat.
I should, yeah, just coming out. Okay, let me catch up on these super chats.
Okay.
Let's see. The horror one asked. Actually, I'll come back to that because that's a good question. You get the super chats first. Damien Gershwin for 2. Thank you very much. What happens if you draw with your non-dominant hand?
I said that.
You did. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I draw like I'm 5 years old. Basically, I practice on and off. You know, because
that's what should happen at the next Fragtober. Everyone should only be allowed to draw with their non-dominant hand.
Yes, we should totally do that.
Oh my gosh, then you'd be like all the plebs who can't draw.
No, that's what happens when I play drawing games with like any normal friends, or if I meet my friends from high school,
they like tell you can't use your dominant hand. Aww.
And I still win. I don't draw well, but with like, what do you call it? The picture game? You draw something, people have to guess it.
Fictioning?
It's about understanding how to like create visual shorthands, and if you're just used to doing that, it doesn't matter if you're using your non-dominant hand. So anyways, I don't draw very well in my non-dominant hand, but I practice sometimes because I'm paranoid about what if I break my hand. Thank you for the super chat. Slava Boga for 5. Thank you. Apologies. Pan-Slavism is reuniting all Slavic peoples back together. I figured that's what it is. I've heard it before. I figured it's something like there's kind of like, I guess, pan-cynicism? Cynic, like Chinese. So it's like, we'll unite all the Chinese people, which is what the CCP wants to do. So, but in like an evil way. Been around since the early 1800s. Also, pani is formal Polish for miss. Oh, I learned something new. I know 0 Polish. I've had some Polish friends teach me like 5 words and I keep forgetting them because it's really hard, but thank you. Cool. I would love to know more about Slavic culture. If you know any resources, Slava Boga, it sounds like you do. If you speak Polish, like let me know if there's anything in English I can read.
I know a word that I think is Polish.
What is it?
Usta.
Dzień dobry.
I think it means lip.
It means what?
Lip.
Lip? Oh, I didn't know that.
It might not be Polish though. I learned it in Veggie Tales. Zolo asked how detailed the histories of our characters are. I think they're pretty detailed for mine. Yours seem pretty detailed too.
Yeah, pretty detailed. I mean, it depends on what are you comparing it to, you know.
I mean, I guess compared to the characters that don't have histories, they're pretty detailed.
Yeah. So it's one of those things where I have every major character's life generally blocked out, and there's also the fact that half of my cast is fairly young, so it's like pretty easy. It's like, well, he still grew up in Alstad, and he hasn't ever really left. The end. It's like the Casimir is a little more complicated, but it's still like not super difficult, right? It's like he grew up in Dorvo, but then after Dorvo got burned to the ground, he came to Alstad, but then he didn't have any place there, so he grew up with a hunter. He kind of went like visited Thalfran a lot. Anyways, you'll see more of this in like chapter 2 and 3, and but with Ragna, for example, Ragna has a little more extensive history because she has traveled around the continent because her goal is to become a master shaman called an arch shaman, kind of like an archmaester in Game of Thrones, but different because arch shamans play a different role. But she's been, and she's a little older than the other characters, so she's dedicated her whole life to training as a shaman. And in my world, shamans are scholastic characters. They're not like druids, like whoo, like nature communing things, they're scholastic. They're more like wizards. So she's been searching for, and our shamans have to create basically a thesis. Like they have to go through like a proofing process, like a 10-year study where they study one subject very extensively and they write books on it and stuff. So she's at the beginning of that process. So anyway, she's traveled around Arvos for a bit, and I've kind of mapped out what locations she's been to. And so with that, with some other characters as well that we haven't met yet. So it's pretty extensive, I would say. And I think it's necessary to write your characters realistically, because even if you're not showing it in the story, like you want to kind of put yourself in their heads. And for example, offhand, it also, but sometimes it's like with sort of more ambiguous points in my characters' lives, like in the years where Casimir was living with his hunting master, I don't know exactly everything that happened, but in my mind, I'm like, I know they went to Thalfrin a lot. I know exactly what happened in Thalfrin War because his relationship with Ragna is important. But outside of that, I'm not super sure what happened besides from, the hunter trained Casimir really harshly, but they probably went to Gunska at some time. They definitely went to Alstad all the time. They probably went to a few other surrounding towns, maybe, and whether or not that becomes reality, because nothing is set in stone until it's written in the comic, right? So there's some stuff that's like, it probably happened, it probably didn't, but then the important stuff I haven't mapped out. Go ahead.
Snafu asked what level my wizard is, and that relates to my magic system, which we have talked about and can talk about more in the future. Of course, we love talking about our magic systems, but like just really in a short way, my magic system kind of relies on light. So he's an indigo level, which is technically the highest level.
Ooh. Cool.
Yep. Well, second highest. Anyway.
Ragna is... Wait, what is she? She's a wizard, but she's a multi-class. Because I stat everything out in Pathfinder. So...
She does. It's very cute. I've seen her OCD. Like, honestly, you guys don't, like, take whatever you imagine her plotting looks like and multiply that by 500, because you guys have no fucking idea. Like I've just seeing like some screenshots or whatever, she'll show it off and it's just like, I don't even understand. And mine is tacked up on my wall with like, I don't know, 72 cards. What are they? Index cards. Just randomly that I kind of draw all over. Ooh. And then it's in my head, and Ree's over here like meticulously on the chart that I have labeled chart number 242X. Like, it's very sweet. It's adorable.
It's fun. And yeah, I have everything statted out in Pathfinder.
If I tried organizing my stuff the way that you organize, I'd never write. I don't know how you do it. When do you sleep?
To be super organized and neat. And all the trading cards for Fiendish have mini Pathfinder character sheets on the back. So for people who are also giant nerds who play tabletop role-playing games, you can play my characters. And also I statted out the monster in book 1. So people who back book 1, and these are campaign exclusive items. I'm never going to be selling these trading cards. They will not be available with any other campaign. So I plan on having these mini Pathfinder stats for every single campaign. So anyways, with chapter 2, I statted out some a magic item that's in the book, and also some creatures. So I stat out the creatures as well, and yeah, it'll be fun. And I statted out Ragna. So all I'll say is she is a wizard, but she's a double caster class, multi-class, and it was really complicated to build, but I figured it out with my GM, and it's a lot of fun.
Cool. Takome said, when writing your timeline, do you outline Do you outline each chapter or heading with a simple sentence and fill it in later, or do you fill it in as you go?
How do you do it?
You're gonna hate me.
Oh no. Pure chaos.
I can already see like your beads of sweat like appearing, and you're just like, I can't handle the thought of how Ali lives. Yeah, I don't have a timeline. I just don't have it written down. It's just literally, I have, like I said, it's up document 1205. Like I said, I have this huge board on my wall, and it has like 70-ish cards, little index cards, and I kind of move them around as they need to be moved around and then draw all over them and write things in, but I don't, I literally, I would have to hire someone like Renie to create something like some sort of timeline like that. And she'd hate me the whole time. I'd hand her a bag of scraps of paper.
I probably would be very stressed out.
I'd be like, hey, when you're done, it'll feel really good.
I think most creatives are kind of chaotic though, so it's I won't hold it against you. I think that's just most people. Yeah, I wanted to pin the comment, but I can't pin it. Wait, well, what was the question? Do you start out every chapter with a blurb and then
when writing your timeline, do you outline each chapter or heading with a simple sentence and fill it in later, or do you fill it in as you go?
Right. So the way I write, I have like multiple documents. I have like a world building document, and I have my actual script, but then I have a synopsis, and then I have a pitch. And I have the full script that is like everything, and it's like I use a program where I can like it's everything is really neat. It's all in Google Docs. Everything is like listed out, and there are headers, and I can just jump to different sections. So I have the main headers, and so I have like a chapter main header, and then underneath it are subheaders of all the scenes underneath it, and it's mainly location based. That's how the story is structured. And so it's like there's the chapter and then each of the locations, and that's how the script looks. But then I have a synopsis document that's like it's about, so the full script is like fucking 80 pages, but then the synopsis document is probably like 9 pages, I think. So it's like 2 or 3 paragraphs for every chapter. Then I have a pitch document that's literally like 2 pages, which is like a couple of sentences for every chapter. So it's like this is different levels of focus, and I broke the story down this way so I know exactly when I'm working. I reference all of it. I know this is my goal for every chapter. This is what happens, and also it just helps when I'm like asking for feedback to just show them this is my goal with this chapter. Like the synopsis and pitch documents are sort of like, it's not like I'm pitching the book to anybody, but I created it to center myself with my goals for each chapter, and also to tell anybody if I want to ask for feedback. But anyways, besides from that, regarding the actual histories, I have a world building document that sort of has like different sections of it. So I have like a section of like the magic system. I have a section for the different species. I have a section for all the locations. So I have, and the locations are broken down by continent. So like every continent is like main header, this is the continent, and these are all the different regions in the continent, and then these are the important cities in each region, and I have descriptions for all of them. But at the beginning of the document, it's sort of the general world history. So I have a few paragraphs on like 10,000 years ago, this is what happened. 8,000 years ago, this is what happened. And it's all written out. And then I have a notes document. Okay, so the world document.
I knew it. I knew it was multiple documents. Didn't I just say that? You're great.
I'm not crazy. I'm not crazy. The world building document is for like non-character stuff. That's for general world building, right? So, but I have something that I call my writing notes document, and that's so like most of the documents are broken into sections because it's just so much material. But I organize it into like every document has a theme. So I have my language stuff is obviously it's in its own separate PDF that I put it on the website because I don't know, let me just put it out publicly, was whatever. But then I have like the actual script, that's the story. This is what I have to draw. And then I have the world building, which is like this is the stuff that's behind the story that I have to know. for the world. But then I have this notes document that I should probably rename to like character notes, because that's what it actually is. But this separate document that is for specifically the major characters and their history. So their histories, and I have sections on each of the major characters, their histories, and but then also how their family history ties, because there's some like family history stuff that will come up later. So all that stuff is in the character development document. So I have like going back 10 years or something. This is what happened 10 years ago with Casimir's family. And I need to know this because this will come to affect the story later on. And then at the same time, in his section, I have like the goals for character development. Like, this is what my goal is by arc 2. This is how I want to make sure everybody understands. This is where he develops to. And then there's like there's another section with like, this is his relationship progression with these other characters, and then there's his relationship progression with this other character, and then all the major characters have this structure where sort of this is their family history, this is my development goals for them, and then this is their relationship with each of the other major characters where it really counts. And I don't have it for like 50 characters, so I'm not that crazy. It's just the major characters are all like, all of their development is listed in this like character notes sheet. So I reference all of these when I'm working.
Just one of the 37 character notes sheets for every single character. They're all slightly different, but they all say the same thing.
No, no. They're super different. It's I'm organized. Okay. Slow bogus for 2. Thank you. Ignore my drunken ramblings. Just randomly curious. No. This is interesting. I'm sorry I don't know more about like Pan-Slavicism or Slavic culture, but I would like to learn.
Dawn of Mutilation said, so will you implement an underground empire like mice mole people? And no. My world is too waterlogged for there to be an underground, but there are like goat people called the Scarpites that like live on the side of cliffs and can like go up and down like goats and stuff.
That's cool. I might have some underground stuff, but it doesn't really come into play in the story so far. YouTuber from Mars, does Ali have a comic that she is crowdfunding now? She does. It's called
I answered that. It's all in the chat.
Oh, okay. Awesome. There you go. Yes. Snafu asks, are you able to see past the veil? I think what you mean by that is a Buddhist thing, right? And I don't think so, because I've never really tried. But I have some weird memories that make me suspect. But I don't know.
Wait, was the hunting master's question for you or me?
I think that's for me. Because Casimir had a hunting master.
Oh, okay.
You'll see more. So Casimir and his hunting master, chapter 2.5, half of it is about that. It's like how Casimir grew up with his hunting master. So yeah. So you'll have to read that.
Rumble said, are there any real world historical events that have shaped a story? Not for me, but I did take some of my queen's backstory from a little bit of Greek mythology, but not much.
Not really. No, I think I referenced a lot of real world cultures when building the cultures, but as far as history goes, I kind of wanted to, like, just let the world play out how it is. And it's one of those things where you reference real world cultures and like nobody creates in a vacuum. We can only kind of take what we already know in this world and restructure it and into a fantasy setting. But it does, all these elements that you take from the real world eventually take on a life of their own that is different than what reality is if you work on it long enough. I think that's how it works for most fantasy. It's like if you like spend time there long enough, it kind of grows on its own. So that's how I try to make my history manifest. And I use terms like, it's like there's this higher race of humans that are called Anunnaki in the south, and they're called Ispolin in the north. And Ispolin is I think it's like a Bulgarian term. I might be wrong. It might be Belarusian. I think it's Bulgarian though, and it's sort of like this legendary higher humans who came and imparted wisdom to normal people, and it's really similar to the Anunnaki. So in my world, I used these are like different terms for the same kind of people, these higher magical humans that came into the world and taught normal people magic and shit. But so I use some of these terms, and terms like Dev, Daev. That's one of the races in Fiendish, and that comes from that's an ancient Middle Eastern term. There's a lot of variations. It's kind of it's obvious it's related to devil, but it's also related to divs. And dev is an alternate spelling for div. Like the word kind of shifted a lot, but it's not devil, right? Actual devils are called something else. They actually use a lot of Middle Eastern terms for the fantasy, sort of like the otherworldly fantasy creatures, and even though devs aren't otherworldly. So anyways, but I wanted to use things that weren't sort of, you didn't see them in most European fantasy. Like nothing is really called just devil, I guess. There are shaitans in the world and there are iblis in my world. These are Middle Eastern terms. But I use the terms, but the actual way these creatures function and the actual history and the actual like battles and conflicts are organic to the world, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that's how I want to write.
Granda asked if we used Campfire or World Anvil as a writing tool. I have not. Stuff like that worries me because a lot of those places have terms of service where they can look at your stuff and like use it. So no, I don't do any of that. And Renie has her own like super obsessive way that she organizes.
Yeah. No, I don't use any of that stuff. I thought of using both Campfire and World Anvil, and it's one of those things where I saw some writers advertising it. I'm like, ooh, this looks cool. And I went to the website. I'm like, I'm totally gonna check this out. And I never did because I honestly have no need for it. I have my own system already, and I don't see how World Anvil and Campfire would help me, right? I have my own way of organizing everything, and it would actually be more work for me to
Oh, absolutely.
like, break down all my documents and then make them all these like wiki pages on World Anvil and Campfire. And actually, I am also worried about putting all this work that I spent so much time on that's so important for me on a platform where other people might be able to see it.
Yep.
So I already have everything worked out in like I have a bunch of stuff, just notes files, regular Microsoft Word documents, and then I have like gigabytes and gigabytes of sketches, references. I have folders for every character, folder for every race, folders for every location. I have binders and binders of reference for Fiendish.
And they're all beautiful.
It's so beautiful. And it's all organized already. It's just, I have my own system. So, and what I want the world to see, I put on the website, fiendishcomic.com. Check it out because I have a Pantheon page. I have the world map. I have the language page. And actually, I have way more stuff. I just haven't put on there yet because I'm not ready to reveal it. I'm eventually going to put a magic system page on there. But yeah, it's like that way I can control what everybody sees. And,
yeah, you're revealing it as the comics go so that it's not,
Exactly. So I'll be revealing more stuff as the comics go. And the website is eventually going to be sort of a wiki for the world. That's how it functions.
Cyberchad asked if we made languages. And yeah, we've talked about that. We're huge language nerds. We both made some.
We have both made languages for.
And if we start talking about languages, we'll never shut up.
I know, so don't ask. But you should definitely check out my website at fiendishcomic.com because I have the whole language on there.
We've done streams on that as well. And they are in the same vein.
Well, not the whole language, but I have. So what's on the web? I swear I won't go on for this for too long. I'll control myself. But I have this is the alphabet for my language. That's in the back of, this is book 1 of Fiendish. And I have the alphabet over here. But I on the back, next to like the back page of Fiendish, it'll always be like this. I'll have an Nanarsa page and I'll have the world map. I'm just always going to have it there. I think I really like that. But there are these logographs because my writing system is both phonetic and logographic. So the logographs are kind of like, I mean, you're seeing it now, but these are only in the books. I don't really put these on the website. It's just like there's too many because it's essentially like, think of it like kanji and katakana and hiragana. So the phonetic writing system is like hiragana and katakana, and the logographs that were down here, these are like kanji. So my writing, I have a hybrid writing system that's a little complicated, but you know, it's I'm slowly explaining it in the books, and it is a fully developed thing that you can find out more about on fiendishcomic.com. Thank you. Okay. Let's see. There are a few other good questions. Let me get back to this. Would you consider doing single page backstories for your main characters and posting them to Twitter? Maybe collecting them for print later. What do you mean, like a comic or like a write-up?
Like a synopsis of each character, or
Ellie, you've been kind of doing that, but with like one illustration.
Right? Yeah, I have that on my website on sanguislibris.net, which I'm really proud of. Where I've been doing, you know, it's like a half-page synopsis with the picture. So yeah, I've been doing that, but it's not like it's a story. It's just like, hey, you know, this person did this and now they're here. Like, it's just a synopsis.
Yeah, I posted something similar, and actually it wasn't. I think it was inspired by you were posting your character profiles. So I did post sort of blurbs on Twitter of like a couple of tweets summarizing my main characters. But I only did Cosme on East Coast so far. I posted with like some character arc, but I want to redo the character arc for Ragna, which is why I haven't posted them. But it's a good advertising tool because I think with how both of us write, it's very character based. The cell isn't like this cool superpower or this cool armor. The cell is the characters, and we both put a lot of work into our characters. So posting these character blurbs and like I plan to kind of like post, you know, do these blurbs and then like with character arcs every few months, and it's a good way to advertise the book.
We've even you and I both, we put work into even the dialects, so not even just languages, just little ways that they talk. Like you remember when I asked you, I don't even remember what it was, but I was like, hey, is it supposed to be like this, or is it just the way she talks? And then like as I read, I was like, oh, it's just the way she talks.
Yeah, Yomi has an accent.
Yeah, we both put, you know, our characters' dialects and accents into the book so that you can kind of get a feel for the immersion and what kind of person that they are. Like my sailor, Evzek, he and like all the other sailors and like lower merchants, they have a very slangy sort of sea twang kind of thing going on. That is really fun. And I was gonna make them sound Irish, and then I realized that I'd have to like figure out how to write an Irish accent, and I didn't want to do that, so I just made up my own.
It's hard. Accents are hard because I think I did it for like one character because in my mind it's like, okay, Yomi's not, she's like my purple girl and she's not from the main area where the story starts. I'm like, let me give her an accent, and it's hard because you don't want, at least I don't want to kind of emulate a real world accent completely, but you also have to be consistent, and people who speak in accents aren't always consistent. And then some accents, like I think an Irish accent, doesn't always translate well to text. And it's like, well, for example, there's a lot of American accents where how do you translate it to text. It's just they pronounce some things differently, but not differently enough for it to be spelled differently. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So it's quite hard. And essentially what I had was, I just came up with a system where Yomi drops syllables, and that's really easy to translate to text. But yeah, like we've both put a lot of thought into our characters and worlds, so we're not fucking around, guys.
Yeah, we're absolutely not fucking around. We're dead goddamn serious.
That's right.
Oh.
Use a symbol to indicate an accent change. Oh, it kind of annoys me. And I understand why people do it, but usually if a character is speaking in, there's like that common classical comic device of using, what do you call it? Those like V brackets when a character is speaking in a different language.
What?
Yeah.
That sounds annoying.
Yeah, so it's like they'll use a different font, or they'll bracket the text because they don't actually want to like have the translations, just like actually write the language. Even if it's a real world language, the speech bubbles won't have the actual, like for example, if it's an American comic, the character's speaking Chinese, the speech bubbles won't have the actual Chinese text. It'll just have the English translation in brackets. And that always annoys me because
what about if they did it with like the Chinese looking font?
Yeah, I don't know if that's better or worse.
Because I've seen that where it's like, look, they're speaking Chinese. We know that because it's all, the slashes, but it's in English.
Oh, God, I know those annoy me so much. It's like, well, it's an effort, but oh boy, this is like really dumb. Yeah, those really bother me because I'm like, if just put the actual language in there. I don't understand, but it's like you can put. So what I did was I have people speak in different languages, sometimes in Fiendish. I have the actual language in the speech bubbles, but the translations are in a little box right next to it. It's easy. If you plan out your lettering, you know what you're doing as a letterer. It's not that hard. Just make some extra space.
Right. And I can show really quick if I can pull it up. There we go. This is an example, just like a really small example of what I mean when I say like I gave them a way they talk. I wanted it to be like really low born is what they call it. So yeah. I don't know if anyone can even see it, but
it's a little small. I want ya below the furthest boy listen, but come not up, lest I saw you scroll past it. Yeah, I see what you mean.
Where did it go?
Ah!
It went away.
Went away.
I tried to make it closer and it went away.
I see what you mean. You kind of did the whole dropping. No, you're not. You did the whole like dropping syllables thing. Yeah, that's if you can skip. You can figure out a system to skip syllables. That's like the easiest way to do a accent. Oh yeah, and man be nerves. Okay, so you scroll past it again. Never mind. And man be nerves. The thought might be a losing is livelihood cap. Captain Nile. Captain. I almost want to say Captain. Captain Nile.
Any man be nervous if he thought he might be losing his livelihood.
That's how it's supposed to be read.
I have it right down here too.
And then losing his livelihood, the Hannah.
There you go.
The ship belonged to the captain. Yeah. Yeah, so you're taking the way someone would actually speak. It helps to speak your dialogue out loud, by the way.
Yep.
Yeah, that really that's a good tip for.
I'll stop confusing people now.
No, you're not confusing people. It's very well done.
Somebody said Teflon said purple, like Grimace purple. No, the purple is more like the purple that you see in like a. What are those things called? Freaking. When you take a. Oh my god. Those clear prisms. When you take a prism and you like hold it up to light, it's more like that kind of purple.
Purple? What?
When I was talking about the colors of the magic system.
Oh, right. Indigo and.
Wait, Vic10 says that my website is giving him subliminal messages. What?
How is it giving you subliminal messages?
There's only like 3 pages on it, and it's all pretty straightforward. I thought. I don't know. Let me know if it's bad. Let me know, and I'll wait 2 weeks and cry and then change it.
No, don't cry. I think it's fine. A Slawaboga for 10. Thank you. Good film to read is Rus-Swede film called Viking. Or Viking. Viking. That's a real actual pronunciation.
No, it's the Wicking.
No, it's some languages like switch their V's and W's, and it always confuses me. Story of Vladimir the Great, Grand Prince of Rus. Civil war with the Kipchaks, and conversion to Christ under Eastern Roman influence. Cool. I'll check it out. So, as far as Russian history goes, like most of the English sources I could find are about the Romanov dynasty. So I know like a shit ton about the Romanovs, but nothing really ancient. And I love Russian history. I want to know more about the ancient history, but all I know is Swedish Vikings and trade with the Middle East and a lot of infighting, and then it became sort of the Kievan Rus and Cossacks. That's all I know.
I know even less. I know a little bit about like what everyone else knows, the Anastasia stuff. And then Anne Rice wrote a book about one of her characters coming from like ancient Russia, and that's about it. Louis Ledesma said, "What if your character has a lisp?" None of my characters will have a lisp because fuck lisp.
Lisp. You don't like it when they talk like this?
Renie?
Oh, he's gonna kill
me! That is one of my biggest pet peeves. Last week I did a whole video on how the person I hate the most is Anthony Kiedis' lisp.
Really?
Yes.
You hate his lisp? Or you just hate him because he has a lisp?
No, I hate his lisp. It's the worst person in the world.
Okay, I won't do it anymore. Sorry, it's just funny.
Takame asked what our opinions on the idea of using italics to denote when someone is speaking differently. I put my some of my other words into italics, depending on who's talking. I don't know. It's different with comic lettering and just like writing in a book because it needs to look different. I sound ridiculous.
No, that's true. Yeah. Doing like different languages. I think it works better if you're writing prose. It works fine if you're writing prose and you just use italics for when someone is speaking a different language because it's prose and it's almost like, I don't know. I can't really explain off the cuff why it works better, but it's like it doesn't break immersion because you're already reading. I don't really know why. It's like you're already reading. It's not like an image. The immersion isn't what's on the page. The immersion is what's in your head. You know what I mean? Does that make sense? But with the comic, I think the immersion should be more on the page because you have the illustrations and the text is going with the illustrations. It's a very stupid way of explaining it. But the reason I think it works differently is because I think on a comic, like everything on a page needs to be 100% immersive. It's like in a movie. It would be like, because it's visual storytelling, and non-visual written storytelling is different. And comics, even though there are words, it is still visual storytelling more than it's written storytelling. Yeah. So if you, in a comic, and you have someone speaking a different language and the text isn't actually in that language, it would be like somebody in a movie, like imagine if, I don't know, this character is supposed to be speaking Chinese, but instead of speaking Chinese and just having subtitles, they just speak in a funny voice or something. Like, it annoys me so much when it just put the fucking language in the speech bubble. So it works totally differently in prose and in comics. In prose, you can just write it in italics. I think that's fine.
Yeah, that's part of why we do this, because we're giving our perspective on both ways.
Oh, BBB's in the chat. What's up?
What's up?
Oh, what up? What up? Did you change the style to show how sophisticated or brutish a character is? Is that?
I don't know who that's for, but
British
yes.
I apologize.
I'll answer yes.
Probably yes. Tokume, thank you for becoming a YouTube member. I appreciate it very much. Thank you.
Good job, Takumi.
Yeah, Tokume has been asking some fire questions. Thank you so much. Tokume also asked, what is either of your opinions on the idea of shamanism being a passive, more spiritual form of necromancy? I haven't personally heard of that before.
Me neither.
And because there's so many different variations of shamanism, because if it's like, because almost every culture has shamanism, and shamanism, it's a general catch-all term for somebody who is like a spiritual leader slash taking the role of like leading spiritual communications in like whatever form that takes place in their world, and or yeah, like a spiritual leader in a pagan culture, which is every culture before modernism. but yeah, a more spiritual form of necromancy. I don't really quite I might be missing something, but I don't really see how that's tied to necromancy, right? Because in some cultures, as far as I know, I'm sure that shamans creating undead, if that's what you mean by necromancy, I assume so. That does exist in some culture, and I know like stuff like the in Native American cultures, there's similar stuff, something similar to that. But at least in Norse culture, shamanism or the Wolva aren't connected to necromancy. There's a lot of undead creatures, mostly from the water in like Norse culture, and those aren't created by the shamans. Those are just kind of an aberration of nature, or the restless undead, or the restless dead, and then like the shamans are almost an opposing force. So,
hey, Matt Barr's in the chat.
Hi, Matt Barr.
What's up?
So, yo. Let me see.
I can show them what I mean by my characters thing too, if you're okay with it.
Yeah, go ahead.
I did, and I am, and I will. Ah! What was that?
I almost threw my mouse.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, so for the character like synopsis, it's not quite a full page. And it's not really even like a short story. It's literally just, oh, look at that. It's literally just that. And I'm gonna post more characters as my artist Killbox finishes them. He's in South Africa though, so sometimes he doesn't have electricity. But as it goes, that is what I'm doing. He's got all of those done. They're pretty long, I think. It's enough, I thought, to get people interested. Mm-hmm. And these are all the ones that are going to come.
Yeah, I like these. I
want to put all of the artwork into an art book that's like a companion book when the actual book is done. Thank you, Solo. He's being carjacked right now. Maybe.
What?
Maybe.
Don't be carjacked.
Usually, though, he's just like, yeah, we don't have electricity again. I'm like, oh, okay, sorry.
Oh, right. Aren't they just... the fucking country is collapsing and they don't have electricity?
Well, they do like load sharing and stuff. And then recently they changed the law to be where farmers get less water than everyone else.
Mm-hmm.
Which some people are saying is racist because almost all the farmers are white. But also that means that all the food is going to die. So I'm not really sure why they're doing this. It seems insane.
South Africa. I don't even know. Like, that country is so broken. I'm like, it's not even. It's just broken. It's like not just communism, not just like it's just insane.
Mm-hmm.
What a broken fucking country. I follow a YouTuber called Serpent ZA. He's like a China YouTuber. Yeah, he's weird. He's like a white South African who lived in China and now lives in America. But he does a show talking about his experience in China, and he kind of talks a lot about the CCP, and that's why I follow him, because I find that stuff interesting, and I agree with a lot of his views. But yeah, he talks about South Africa sometimes too, and it's just so fucking broken. It's just, oh my god, yeah, that really sucks. John, I saw you said you had a world building question, but I didn't see it. Do you want to? If you want to post it again, that would be great. I sorry I missed it. Let me show some of my character blurbs too. Pew. South Africa equals shotgun economics, is Tokome? Shotgun economics. Kind of like... Hold on.
Oh, does real history or anthropology help more in developing world histories? I'm going to say anthropology helps me more. Real history, to me, gets kind of boring, but anthropology was my favorite course in college.
I agree.
Yeah, I didn't even know what it was before I took it in college, and it was absolutely fun and fascinating. Like, world history is fine, but anthropology is way more interesting because it's like, I don't know, it's more personal, I guess. It feels more personal. I can get more into the people's brains. I love how you did them during their whole life. It's so cute.
Oh, that's only Casimir, but
Oh, you didn't do that with the other ones?
not so far with the other ones. I might do younger Ragna, because it's like...
I was gonna say, I thought there was a younger... Well, can I say that? I don't know. Never mind.
Who? Oh, okay. But he still hasn't changed that much. I mean, we might see him younger in flashbacks, but I don't think he's still kind of a kid. So I didn't really feel the need to draw him younger. Yeah, I did Casimir. I drew him younger because it was like, this is like when the fall of Dorvo is an important event in the story, and he was 11 when that happened. So I wanted what he looked like back then to kind of be in the lineup. But
somebody asked how old when he got the scars. Are they scars? I thought they were tattoos.
They're scars. They're burned scars. Yeah. So.
Oh, okay. I thought it was like a tattoo of like a snake.
Mm-mm.
I'm a failure.
No.
I didn't get to read one, but I did buy it though.
Mm-hmm. I never like really explained it, but I opened the story with a flashback prologue too. Like, it's kind of like right in the middle of what happened to Dorvo when his hometown was being destroyed. And don't die.
Look at what Snafu just said.
What did he just say? Don't die. It's what? No! Ew! I'm not going to highlight that. Gross.
I was taking a drink of my water and I read that and I almost died.
Yeah, you killed Ellie. Yeah. Oh, gross.
Whoa.
I don't even think... Was John blonde? Like, I know it's a joke that Casimir looks like John, but I don't think so.
I don't know. I think Casimir's in better shape.
Well, he's not diabetic, so...
Wait, is John diabetic?
I think he is, but in denial of it.
Oh. MD Renie.
No, he said it before.
Really?
It's not me.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, Philbo says you have a great clean line.
Thank you.
Which she probably obsessed over. So
I do obsess over my line art. I don't know. I just like nice, neat line art. But yeah, here's a character profile,
Is
and
that why the backgrounds of Archer always looked so nice and crisp?
well, that was just the style that we were going for.
Oh.
And I think I got hired because, first of all, I could draw backgrounds, and because I could do clean line art. That was why I was hired for the show. It just kind of worked. But here is a profile I have for him, and I'm gonna be reposting this again, maybe with some new art. It's like probably I'll update the character profiles. And so far, I only have Casimir and Easkell. This is the one for Easkell, but I want to, it's an interesting exercise as a writer as well, because you want to introduce a character in a very concise way. Like what really helps with as a writer is not to write more, but to be able to boil down everything into a simple concise form, and that's when you know what you're doing, if that makes sense, because that's like, you understand, even though you can expand on this, I can expand on these characters, I know everything that's happened in almost all of their lives, but this is what the character's main struggle is, this is who they are, and this is why they matter in the story, and that's what these blurbs are. So I'm going to be posting these for the other characters and with updated art and stuff, on and off.
Yeah, it's one of the more painful things that you kind of have to learn how to do when you're a writer, is to crunch everything and make it like palatable for someone who's just trying to scan and figure out whether they want to consume something. But once you do it, like, and you get over the, oh, my thing is so long and it's so like special and there's so much going on, how do I just make it smaller? Like, once you get over that, it gets pretty easy. I don't even feel pain when I do it anymore.
Yeah, I agree. It was really hard at first, having to like, it was, because it's like, especially beginning as a writer, I think it's like you write when you're just writing for yourself, and you have this whole, I think now that I'm more experienced as a writer, I would have a more of a plan, and I would like know my themes and stuff. But with Fiendish, it was like pure chaos. I know it seems like I'm organized, but the process really was chaos for me, subjectively, because it's like I was trying to find the themes as I wrote. So halfway through, it's like, after I was like done with knowing where the story was going, I had to force myself to sit down and think, okay, what have I written? What are the actual goals? And what happened was I saw what I was actually trying to say in the story, because what I'm doing is I'm just writing the kind of story I like to read. But then I have to step back from it, look at it like not a creator, like a viewer, or like as if I'm a reader who's needs to be sold the story. And then I summarize it in a way that, like, I saw the themes that I was putting in there, and I reinforced it more, and that made the story better. So I think that's a process every writer has to go through, and hopefully I'll be better at it going forward, because like Fiendish was kind of the first time I did something this big. But anyways, is Renie wearing a witch hat? I am, because it's my because it's a response to a super hat. I'm stupid.
It's not stupid. Next time, I'll wear one of my super hats. I own 3 hats. No,
Yay!
I own 4 hats. I'll wear one of mine.
Hey, Mark Brooks is in chat. Hi, Mark Brooks.
What's up, Mark Brooks?
Are there spirit animals in this realm? Spirit animals, as in what sense? Like
Native American spirit animal type deal?
Right. I'm like, in what sense? Because in Pathfinder and D&D, you have spirit animals, but then you have spirit animals like witches and shamans have, but then you kind of have animal companions in the sense of wizards, but also rangers and druids have animal companions, and that could kind of be a spirit animal, but it's not quite the same thing.
My my silly noble, his magic manifests in him being able to turn into the shape of like a lion made of light.
Oh.
If that is close. I don't know if it's close, but that's what it is. So, and nobody else has that.
Oh, cool.
That's a new thing. That even like the wizard, Remdelvir, who is, you know, the authority on magic, he doesn't even know where that came from. Like, it shocks him.
Mm-hmm.
Story spoiler, not really.
Spoilers.
It's literally there in the character thing that I just showed. So
I thought of having spirit animals. Like, I thought of giving some of the magically inclined characters like literal spirit creatures, like little creatures that would appear and disappear, come out of a magic item or something. But then I'm like, okay, I already have way too many characters to keep track of, and I gave Casimir this cat, and like, you don't understand it, because keeping it's like extra work for me to keep track of the cat, because it's like not only do the human characters need to be doing something, the cat needs to be doing something. I'm like, okay, if I add more like spirit animals and what the fuck ever, it's like, okay, is this necessary for the story? It might be fun, but it's not necessary. So I'm not going to puck my story like that. If you know Berserk references, and if you've heard, you guys know how much I dislike Puck. After the beginning, and I think that's the problem. Bless you.
Sorry, that came out of nowhere.
Surprise, these.
I'm very sorry.
Was
It just kind of like punched me in the face.
Okay. Yeah, it's too much to keep track of. I don't want something that is like, oh, this is like, you don't want to add stuff in your story that's just there to be fun, but there's no functionality, because what will happen is when the fun is over, that thing is still there and you're not going to know what to do with it. So I try to avoid adding things just because it'll be fun.
Mr. Sophocles said, House Slytherin for Renie. Are you a Slytherin? I'm a Slytherin. I bet you're a Ravenclaw. You're a Ravenclaw.
I'm probably a Ravenclaw, yeah.
You are, because you're like... Because you're you.
What does that mean?
Thank you, everyone.
Everybody is Ingus and tight.
I know. That's what I'm saying. Thank you.
Okay. Mark Burks is getting deep today.
Yeah, look at him. Look at him tippity tapping.
I know. Interdimensional demons usually exist on a higher plane. Rarely do they come down to the prime material plane. However, some animal spirits can cross between the veil. I have some creatures who can do that, yes, but it hasn't. Well, you see some of it in chapter 2.
That's like in the Neverending Story, the book. They go into the Gmork. I know you've never seen it, but some people in the chat will. They go into this creature called the Gmork, and he's sort of like a werewolf type creature where he can traverse between the human world and the world of Fantastica, as it's called in the book, but it's called Fantasia in the movie. And like he's the servant of the evil presence behind the nothing, which is destroying everything. Takame love what series? What are you talking about?
What series? What? I love that.
TP remembers the book was great. Yeah, the movie is only like the first 4 chapters. There are no other movies. I like to live in that world.
Nerds unite.
Nerds, totally. Oh, I have news for you. I reached a stretch goal, so I made it. I'm having someone help me work out a character sheet, stats sheet, to make Egg Beater playable.
Cool! What class is he going to be? That's going to be so weird.
I don't know.
I can't wait. That's so much fun.
It is going to be very weird.
Yes! What class would he be?
Don't worry. They're professional. It's gonna be weird, but good. I don't know if anyone will ever do it, but I was like, I need a thing to offer for my stretch goal, so there it is. And that was inspired by you.
Yay! I approve. More Pathfinder and D&D stuff is good in my book. Right. I think. Okay. Let's try to rein it back into the subject because I feel like we haven't quite talked enough about how the prime question: how do you create histories for your fantasy world? That's the question. So how do you go about beginning this? Like, what's your thought process for creating the histories? Because I think like the story and the story in the present time generally comes first. I think it doesn't really work if you, I mean, some people create it. And it depends because usually the history matters and you can create it in tandem. But, anyways, how do you go about creating the history and how much of it do you flesh out?
Scootran said you steal from Tolkien. Incorrect.
No, that's what 90% of fantasy writers now do, and you should not do that.
Actually, no. 90% of fantasy writers now mix George R.R. Martin with Stephanie Meyer.
Oh.
and a little bit of J.K. Rowling. Because every fantasy thing out there now is, oh, I'm just your average person who has suddenly found themselves a fairy going to fairy school, or like I'm secretly an angel going to angel school. Like it's so painful. That's like every other book, and they're all
the pain I'm in from
I know
people take George R. R. Martin's world building and think it's good and rip off of it.
Yeah, it's terrible. So, for me, basically what I do is I write what's going on in my story now. Like, so I'm writing the present. And then as I go, if something pops up where I need to flesh out a history of it, then I do it. I don't know how else really to explain it. That was how I discovered I needed to make my language. So I sat down and I did that. That was how I discovered that I needed to flesh out my magic system. So I sat down and I did that. I go from the beginning to the end and I fill all the little details in, and then once it's all done, I'm just going to go back through everything and put it all in order. That's how I write. Mm-hmm. You just describe anime. Boo!
No, not your work. I think with like the whole ripping off George R. R. Martin and J.K. Rowling thing.
Oh.
But like, ooh, well, like I'm just a normal person who's now a magic fairy girl. That's so many anime, and that's 100% isekai. And I get the appeal of that medium or that genre, but it's very annoying and oversaturated.
So Takame, I kind of just answered that. Like, so I started the whole thing. Okay, here's how I started the whole thing. I was really into anime. And so I sat down and I wrote 3 paragraphs of an anime-inspired fight scene where a girl is fighting someone using, like, light powers of some kind. That was it. That's how Rotting Crown started. I liked it so much that I sat down and I was like, I'm going to expand on that. And I wrote about this girl who is going to be like in an arranged marriage, and then there's a mix up and stuff, and that wasn't enough, so I had to write more. I don't know if this makes sense to anyone who doesn't write, but it's like I just wrote a little bit and then that wasn't enough, so I needed more.
Mm-hmm.
Is that like it's not really that complicated for me, I guess. I just know it and it happens as it needs to. I don't know. I mean, I've already told you, I write in my sleep. When I'm sleeping, I dream about writing, and when I wake up, I have to sit down and write it all down right away because I've written it down in my head, and if I don't write it again, I'll forget it and it'll be gone forever.
That's wild. I never dream about barely dream about people I know. I never dream about drawing or writing.
Yeah, I just
So
in
weird.
in my dreams, I'm literally sitting there typing or just writing, and then I have to get up and write it down right away.
Interesting.
Snafu says Metal Gear Solid. I never played it.
Mm-mm. Tokume asks, do you build the history of the main characters first or flesh out the world and have the characters play a role within that environment? Yeah, that's a good jumping off point. The way I started Fiendish was the premise. The only thing that hasn't changed throughout, like, I've completely rewritten the script about 4 or 5 times. And the premise I started out with was a young hunter in a snowy, remote town finds a man who was murdered by a strange kind of creature. And out of everybody who is present, who's found this murdered man in the woods, only the main character, this hunter, knows what this monster is. And he goes on a journey to find out what that creature is. Everything else has changed. Everything else, including like what's the monster type, what they come from, the surrounding characters, the setting. Like the first iterate, I had like really old versions of the map because I always knew it was going to be fantasy, and I like started sketching out maps just because it's fun for me to world build and stuff. And everything else has changed. The map has looked completely different. But so I started out with like this is the basis for how I wanted to start the story, and everything else was extrapolated from that. And in the later iterations, sort of, I decided that, well, because I wanted my main character to be tied to these creatures, that's why I built it into the main character Casimir's backstory, that he was a sole survivor of an attack by these creatures years ago. So that was his history, and then I kind of jumped between it after that because I started out with this is what happens in the present, this is who my main character is, and then it's kind of like in my experiences it has to happen in tandem. So as I build what's happening now, because I have to make what's happening now make sense and make sure all the things that exist in the world now connect and make sense as a cohesive world, I have to write the history behind it. So that's why I have these documents. I have like, this is a document for what happened in the past. This is a document for what happens right now in the story. And then there's kind of like peripheral. So there's that's sort of like I mentioned the documents that I have. It's like I have the script, I have the characters, and then I have the world building. But then part of the world building is this is what pertains to the actual story, right? And sections of the world building are from this is what actually matters. And I created it. It's probably like 50-50. A lot of the world building doesn't pertain to the story. And I have built it. Like I designed all the different cultures. I have like, that's what I do. This is what I do to relax is what I do to relax is I will go on Pinterest and save images for all the cultures and types of architecture and organize them into nice, neat little folders for every city and location in my world. So I know, because I want to know in my head how all these people's dress and how the architecture looks. And that's what I do for fun. So that stuff doesn't pertain to the story at all, but I do it because it's enjoyable and it fleshes out the world. And it makes me as a writer feel like I'm working in a fleshed out real world. And I think it'll translate to a better experience for the reader, because these little things that I thought about in the background just for fun might come up in conversation, or as you're walking down the street in a big city, you'll see a character that dresses in some weird foreign clothes, and chapters later, you go to another city and realize, oh, that's where that style of dress is from, and these little things tie your world together and make it cohesive. So it's I don't think it's necessary to build that much beyond your main character and the main conflict, but it helps just realize it's secondary. That was way more than what the question asked, but I hope that made sense.
I'm gonna have to go at 1:30.
Oh, okay. Oh, I didn't realize it was that late. No problem. It's been that's perfect. We'll have done 2 hours. So we'll go another 15 minutes. I think we're pretty much We pretty much covered the topic, though, right?
It's
a pretty good discussion.
I think so. I mean,
well, hi, Hyper Wizard. Did you just show up?
I think so.
Good job.
We both, Mr. Sophocles. That's not even funny. Renie's not allowed. I won't let her.
I'm not doing.
As her adopted parent, I do not sign off on allowing her to do a calendar.
Okay, Mom. I will do an illustrated character. I will draw.
A fiendish calendar would be pretty cool.
Yeah, I will draw you an awesome calendar.
Yeah. Do that, please.
Hi, Geekazu. Oh, we got.
I don't want to have to disavow Renie. That would be really nice if I didn't have to do that.
Don't disavow me.
Disavowed.
She just woke up.
Oh, good morning.
Good morning. Yeah, we've been going for a while, so you're gonna have to watch the replay. It was a good show.
This is a good show.
Replay. Yeah. All right. Let me see. Did I miss any chat?
Yeah, check your super chats.
I think I got everything.
Did you? Oh my gosh. We're on top of this tonight. What the heck?
I'm on top of this shit, yo.
What month would each character be, says Rumble?
What month? What do you mean by that?
I want the tiger to be August.
What month?
Or the cat, or whatever it is.
The cat? Oh, Nina? Her name is Nina. The kitty cat? Well, Nina's... I wanted her to kind of be like... to really go with Casimir, and obviously it's like I did this weird thing where
you can put him on there too, just like have him with his shirt off, like kind of with his hair blowing in the wind.
Yeah, the whole calendar will be beefcake. People are expecting cheesecake, but it's just gonna be for my personal indulgence, and it's just going to be hot Slavic and Viking men.
Oh man,
big furry cats.
I've backed it already.
Yes. And I'll put in the bubble butts to make Anna happy. I got you, girl. And it's everybody who like 90% of my predominantly male audience for Fiendish will be disappointed. But
oh no, Hyper Wizard is worried that his world doesn't have enough history now. That's a good topic to bring up. You actually can have too much history. Not everyone can or should be trying to be Tolkien or Martin or even C.S. Lewis. Okay? Not everyone should do that, because not every story needs that.
Exactly, yeah. Yeah, or just that applies to everybody. Not everyone needs to be Berserk, or because Berserk has its own way of doing histories, and like I think whatever works well for your world, just stick to that, because it takes time to figure out, and it's hard to. I guess I'm a little paranoid about this, not so much anymore, but while I was working on Fiendish, I actually avoided reading anything that wasn't strictly research based, like that wasn't like this is a historical doc or like a PDF document studying how Viking houses were built and shit. Because it's like I didn't want to be influenced by what other people did. I wanted to do what worked for me. But it's like before that, I've already read all kinds of stuff. I've read Vinland Saga, I've read Berserk, I've read George R. Martin and Tolkien. But it's like I didn't want to copy them, and I know that's not what you're doing, Jake, but I wouldn't worry about it so much. From what I've seen from your story, it's not like you don't necessarily need deep history for everything. I think what you have is, because I know with what your story is, I'm not going to spoil anything, but it goes deeper than the surface, and I think that's pretty good. And there's a lot that can naturally evolve as you progress, if that makes sense.
Yeah. You really only need what comes naturally, like you said, as you progress. Anything else is kind of like the Silmarillion, where like not everyone who's even read The Hobbit has read the Silmarillion. A lot of people who like Lord of the Rings are just like, it's boring.
It's so boring. I'm sorry. The only way I got through it was by listening to it because I couldn't bring like my willpower to finish reading it. I'm just like, I'm gonna draw and listen to this thing. It's not. Yeah, you don't need that, and it's it is not. It's really cool, but cool and necessary and entertaining are all different things. So know what you want to prioritize.
Well, and Tolkien was doing a whole different thing. He wasn't just writing a book or a series of books. He was very purposely creating an entire mythology for a people. So, that's part of why you don't really have to do that. And actually, please don't. I will beg almost every single fantasy, even like sci-fi writer, I will beg you to not do that, because what happens is a lot of people get too hung up in writing their histories and having too much fun filling out little things about their characters that they never even get around to actually writing the story. And I can't tell you how many times I've spoken to indie writers, because I used to do paid beta reading, and they would just come to me with, 5,000 years ago, blah blah blah, this, and then 3,000 years ago, this, and I'm just like, okay, but what's happening today?
Mm-hmm.
And they'd be like, oh, right, this, and it would have nothing to do with it. They're just like, but I thought it was cool. And it's like, that's super awesome. I'm glad you're really passionate, but you really, really don't have to do that. Make different stories if you want to. Like, for George R. R. Martin, I've never read the main series, but I did recently read The Hedge Knight, and I guess that takes place in the past, but I really enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm.
Just like this short story, about this kind of like big lug who, it was lovable and nice, and there wasn't even any weird like incest and stuff. That was cool.
Yeah. He's a prime example of someone who gets too caught up in not just the past history, but in the present history. And he needs, it's this whole gardening writing style thing. He is such a good writer if he has boundaries. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he needs an editor who will just friggin' punch him in the face.
It really does seem like that, because when he is constrained with the with the queen and the princess, the Targaryen civil war, it's, why can't I remember the name of the book? But right, also the Hedge Knight, the Duncan Egg stories. He set out to create something short and focused. He knew where it was going to begin and where it was going to end, and it's so good when he has that constraint. But with the main books, and I think this is why it keeps on expanding and he's never going to finish, is because he gets carried. Like, the first few books are focused, but then after like book 3, he just starts going off into all these side character stories on the other side of the world. And I understand that that's cool stuff to cover, but it's like it does peripherally tie into the main conflict, but it's all peripheral. It's not the main conflict. And so it just becomes where you started out selling us this main conflict, and now you're going off talking about this other stuff that's really peripheral. This is why I decided that I needed to cut anything that wasn't completely necessary to the main story and make them these 0.5 chapters for Fiendish, or just save it, cut it, and do it as a separate book later on, because of what I saw happening, not just with George, but a lot of writers do this. And I think like having focus is important, and you don't want to go overboard with your world building. It's not always necessary.
Yeah.
And right, that's a great point you said about how Tolkien was creating mythology, and that's why it worked for him. And also, that's his specialty. He was, like, remember, he wasn't a writer by trade. He was a professor. He was a linguist. He spoke like ancient languages. So, and he wanted to create a mythology for his people, because the British people didn't have a lot of their own ancient mythology.
Mm-hmm.
So it's different. Like, if is your goal to create a mythology for a certain people? If it's not, then it's not necessary. Just do whatever it takes to make your story good. It's hard to get through the first chapter of Silmarillion. Yeah, later on it's more interesting, but early on, when it's just all about the gods and the creation of the world, like, it's very inventive, but it's so hard to get through because you don't have characters to latch onto. But later, it's a lot better.
Of course, it's nerdy in here, Snafu. That's what we do.
Are you surprised?
We're talking nerdy.
So did Renie really read a Silmarillion or not? I listened to it. I finally finished listening to it. It took forever.
Renie doesn't know how to read.
I don't know how to read.
Don't listen. She doesn't know.
I don't read books, guys. It's all a lie. I don't read books.
That's why she has comics.
Yeah.
She looks at the pretty pictures.
Look at the pretty pictures, and I draw the pictures. The books. But yeah. Whew. Is there anything else? I think that's about it.
I think we've been pretty concise.
Yeah.
Sometimes you do have to cut stuff, that is cool, but maybe you can use it for something else down the road. And it's painful, but it's worth it because it'll make your story more readable.
Yeah.
And no Takame, although I will.
I haven't heard of it. Oh, someone asked. Where was the question? Did I start it? Someone asked, "Do I have anything like Stormbringer in my book?" No.
What, like the axe,
like the sword, like the Stormbringer is a sword from Michael Moorcock's books, right? Right? Is that what you're talking about?
I thought that was the axe that Thor uses now.
Oh, but it does have the same name? Let me look this up.
I don't know. That was a member chat from Snafu.
Oh! Thank you.
Elric,
right. Michael Moorcock. Yeah. That's what I don't fucking pay attention to Marvel. So his axe has the same name as this Michael Moorcock sword. Yeah, there's this black enchanted sword in Michael Moorcock's work.
Stormbreaker. No. Okay.
Stormbreaker is a break. Can you tell that we don't really give a shit about Marvel?
Yeah. I thought, it's gonna be some cool name, because Mjolnir, and then it was just like, it's Stormbreaker, and I was like, oh, okay, so now he's just a fucking retard. Great, I love it.
Jeez. Yeah,
awesome. Thanks.
I don't. I avoided. No, I realized that every time early on in my writing, when I would try to do references to other, like, when I would try to do tropes or references, because like, ooh, this book had a cool enchanted weapon, so, and this book had a cool chosen one story, so maybe I will put this into my book. It never worked. So I decided that I'm not making any references. Like, if there's anything that's similar to other works in Fiendish, and I know some stuff is similar, like I mentioned before, I really like FMA, and Casimir's design is kind of based on Edward Elric, and some of the magic system is also obviously influenced by FMA and Avatar. But at the end of the day, that's just because I like this stuff. Like, I try to avoid on purpose a lot of these fantasy tropes. So I'm not reinventing the wheel. I'm not under no illusions. I'm just trying to create a good fantasy story. But also, I didn't want to use a lot of these fantasy tropes of, well, haunted weapons, enchanted weapons, and chosen one. I don't do any of that. I don't even have prophecy. Prophecy stuff really annoys me, and I didn't want to write it. So that's not a big part of the story. So there you go.
And that's one thing that I actually cut out of Rotting Crown. I had this like prophecy that this crazy Neolite put or said while she was like being tortured or whatever, and I actually cut that out. I was like, this is stupid and I hate it and it means nothing. And it was actually a pain to reference it again later. So I was just like, ugh. So right. You're welcome, Renie. I did that for you before I knew you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. That made your book 2,000 times better.
Yay.
You're right. I think the issue was, well, now you have to pay attention to like, well, this prophecy and like, what does it actually mean? Unless it can work, but unless it really ties into, like, Tolkien does some prophecy stuff and it works.
You do have to be able to have it naturally come up again, and I
Yes.
just couldn't make it do it. So
yes,
I just didn't do it.
and it's like it needs to tie into the themes of your story, and it's like it needs to be there for a reason, not just because my fantasy needs to have prophecy and my fantasy needs to have an OP weapon or a chosen one. No, it doesn't. Like, too many people think that fantasy is completely defined by Tolkien. It's not, and I would like to see people actually just create new structures and new ways of writing fantasy from scratch and actually invent something for once, or actually just be honest to what you want to create instead of copying what's been done before.
A lot of really cool fantasy you can find in all of those, like, little paperback books that fantasy artists from like the 70s just did a cover for. They would just take a quick commission to do a cover, of a strong dude beating up a giant or whatever. There's tons of those, and I love going to like used bookstores and finding those. I have a whole bunch of them, and almost all of them are these crazy good weird fantasy stories. Like, there's one about this princess who is cursed to not have gravity, and that was one of the most fascinating fantasy novels that I ever read in my whole life. Even though it was like silly too, but like heartbreaking. It was very cool. But anyway, I gotta go.
Okay.
And yeah, there's tons of boobs in Fiendish.
There are boobs in Fiendish, so
There's
not worry.
boobs coming out of panels into other panels.
There actually are boobs coming out of panels. I embrace the boob in my comic. But yeah, if you gotta go, that's cool. Thank you. I'll wrap up soon. And get a couple more chats. But thank you for joining me, Ali. Yay.
Oh, I love the show. Someday I'll be able to stay for a really long time.
It's fine. You have a life, unlike me, so I understand.
Homeschooling never ends. I'll just say that.
Oh boy, yeah, that must be so much work. But yeah, you have like a kid and duties, so go.
Duties. I must go and do my duties. That makes me seem so stuffy. Like, I shall retire to my tower and I will do my duties there.
Yeah.
Gosh.
Well, I do imagine in my mind that you just live in this ancient castle and
oh my gosh, I wish. My mom painted this house pink. It's fucking horrible.
Oh,
it's literally like I live in my nightmare.
Back egg beater so Allie can save up and buy a castle filled with bats.
Ugh, I love bats.
Yeah, it would be awesome and amazing. Subscribe.
Well, good night, everyone. Thank you for all your sick questions. It's wicked.
Also subscribe to Allie. Allie, before you leave.
Yeah, I've been trying to release a new video every single day between 6 and 8. Just a little short video. Stepping up. So yeah. And nice. and last week, actually like 3 days ago, I published another book. So it's a kid's book, and it's rhyming drawing prompts. So it's got fun poems in it that as kids read them, they can add things to castles and silly aliens and circuses and stuff. Thank you very much, John. Good night, everyone, and thank you for blessing me when I sneezed as well. It's very kind. I
bless you again.
Thank you.
The next show?
Is that waving? Is that
yes.
what you're doing? Oh.
You know how like the pageant waving, they do this? I don't know why.
That's not how they do it, but okay. It was nice of you to try.
I tried. I've never done pageants before, can you tell?
You're so random. We're gonna have the weirdest road trip.
I want to live stream it, but I also don't because I feel like things are gonna get weird.
We'll figure stuff out.
We'll
Anyway, good
figure
night,
it out.
everybody.
Good night! And subscribe to Ali. The next show will be on her channel.
Yep. Good night.
Bye. It's just me. I just want to make sure I catch up on chats, and then I'm gonna wrap it up too, because I got work to do. How to draw comics with Dan Lawless. What's up, Dan Lawless is in the house. I'm working on a fantasy story. No boobs. Go figure. Oh no. Well, you don't need to have boobs in a fantasy story to make it work. But I embrace the boobs. I like having boobs. I think it's fun. I think there's not enough boobs in modern media. They're getting rid of female beauty. And female beauty to me is powerful. So I like it. And there's handsome, muscular men and beautiful women on top of a good story. And that's my goal for Fiendish. But you don't need to have, boobs in fantasy. There's tons of, especially with a lot of manga. And there's tons of, just in general, there's a lot of media out there without, Tolkien's stuff is not sexual at all. It's very, traditional and conservative. Yes. Whoever, I know this will trigger a lot of people, but Tolkien was definitely a traditional conservative. I'm sorry if that bothers you, but he was. I think, I did miss a chat. Dalgo Solo for 10. Thank you. Did you say you started on my cover? Anything you can show? I haven't. I have a very rough sketch, but it's nothing that I would show right now. I will send you something probably tomorrow. All this fucking house stuff has really fucked up my week. I'm so sorry. But I have something rough. I've been bouncing between your cover and my roughs for chapter 3. But yeah, I'll try to send you something tomorrow. And I'll keep you updated. Thank you very much for the super chat and for the commission. Oh, also, Travis, let me know when you need it by. I don't have a hard deadline from you. Please give me a hard deadline so I don't fuck up your campaign. I need deadlines. Otherwise, I'll just take too long. Donna Mutilation asks, imagine if you could told peeps about the role of Duncan and do it over. Yeah. Yep. I'm not going to spoil that. But there is prophecy in Dune, but it's done in a really interesting way because it's not like woo-woo magic prophecy. I mean, I guess it's kind of spoilers, but I won't get into specifics. A lot of the prophecies and that you hear in the story were planted by political actors. That's what's so cool about the prophecy in Dune. And it ties into the entire theme of Dune about the power of having, charismatic leaders that become overly powerful and despotic, and that sort of zealotry that can come from that. This whole prophecy thing is Dune is so fascinating. It's like fantasy but in space, but if what actually happens in the story underneath is all classical fantasy stuff, but the technology is space era, far futuristic. But yeah, Dune makes it work. Tolkien makes it work in his own way. And I think with Tolkien is just because he has the mind and the intelligence to make everything connect. But if it's not necessary for your story, I don't think prophecy or any sort of these fantasy tropes should be forced. You should just do what works for what you're creating, seriously, not everybody needs to be Tolkien. Not everybody needs to be George R. R. Martin. See so much, especially now that with the success of Game of Thrones, everybody's copying George R. R. Martin, And every time somebody has an evil queen or something, I'm like, you're copying George R. R. Martin. Witcher Blood Origins. Oh, that was such a bad show. I don't even know why I tried to watch it. I wanted to throw up the whole time. It was it's just badly done. And the Game of Thrones TV show butchered Daenerys as well. Dune, people so don't understand. Worse, Paul is not who people think he is. No comment. Dune is amazing. It's interesting. I can't really talk about Paul without spoiling things, right? He's a fascinating character, right? It's definitely something that starts out one way and it gets turned on its head. Think of it like Vinland Saga, like the twist in Vinland Saga, but like the character becomes not, it's like the twist in Vinland Saga is like, well, Vinland Saga and Dune, they both start out as kind of revenge stories, but when the twist happens, when the story enters this realm of this is what it's really about, they go in very opposite directions. I love it. I love the original Lynch movie. I've never seen that one. I never saw that one. I should watch it. Am I going to put myself in a new? There's another Witcher? No. Oh, the new seasons. No, I've given up. I'm done. The fucking Blood Origins broke me. Oh, I have to send you a bio. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, I'll send it to you. I'm sorry. I've been streaming all evening. Okay, I need to send Patrick a bio for Tampa Bay Comic Con. By the way, in case I haven't mentioned, I'm gonna be at Tampa Bay Comic Con the last weekend of July, and we're entering July. So everybody, if you didn't know, please, if you're able to show up there, come to Tampa Bay. I'm going to have a table with Kelsey and PCP at the Riot Press booth. It's going to be mad fun. A bunch of other people are going to be there. It's going to be a mini CG get together. I know like people are flying from overseas. Bancroft is going to be there. Jake Hyperwizard is going to be there. I know Phil and Narwhal, the creative block team, are all going to be there. We're all going to be there. So it's going to be mad fun. And it's going to be a party. So come hang out. I'm still trying to figure out what I'll bring to the show. I'm not going to have any Fiendish 2 books, but I'll have some overflow of Fiendish 1. And I'm going to have some con exclusive stickers and prints. I think that's what I'm going to bring. And on top of like my usual convention stuff. So that is the plan. And yeah, please stop by the Riot Press booth and give me a visit. Yay! That was Zillow for 20. Thank you so much. Ooh, I bumped the microphone. Don't need it too soon. Think I'll wait till the interiors are half finished before I launch. That's a good idea. That's kind of that's my goal as well, and I think that's a good point to launch to give the backers peace of mind. I just want my artist to work off your design for the main character. Okay, all right. I'll at least have a rough for you soon then. So if that's what you want, I'll get on it. Thank you. Mucho gracias. All right, is there anything that I missed? Renie, how long does your average cover take from concept to finished? It depends. I usually ask for at least about a month is my preferred time frame, right? Because what I like to do, especially with the cover, is I like to with concepts is pretty easy, but with finishes, I like to take my time for a cover and make it look really good. And I do a lot of adjustments. I do a lot of like fine detail work. So in general, I can work faster. I think I've got I've gotten deadlines of like a week or 2 weeks for an illustration, and I could take rush jobs, but I prefer to have about a month or more. Ideally. Does Dune qualify as a male power fantasy, or is it beyond that? If you look at the entire story, I would say it's probably a bit of a, I guess you can interpret it as a critique on a male power fantasy, but it's not just about male power fantasy. It's about power. It's a critique on the overreach of power, really. If you look at Dune, and it's not just like what we've seen in the movies, right? That's what it's really about. Tampa! Yes. Oh, Snarky can't be there. I'm sorry. Well, I'm sure people will be streaming, and I know you'll be with us in spirit. Yay! Mini? Like a mini figure? Well, I don't have any minis. I wish. I only have a month. I don't have a lot of time to prepare anything, or I'd have more. But, I'll do what I can. I want to have some special stuff for you guys at Tampa. Oh, you're right. I should bring some merch. You're right. I should order some merch. And what do you guys want? Hold on. Tell me in chat. What kind of merch would you guys want to see? Like, should I bring beanies or shirts are hard to bring because then I have to bring like all these different sizes, you know? But I'll have some beanies. People really like the Fiendish beanies. Hold on. Let me. No. It really isn't. It is beyond. It's not just like a male power fantasy. It's power itself that is on display. Boobs. Mr. Sophocles has been really into the boobs this evening. Don't blame him. Oh, you called it a mini CG get together. 30th is a great dinner. Okay, it's not mini. It's not mini. I was trying to make it sound cute and fun. It's definitely not. There's gonna be a lot of Comicsgate people there, so it's gonna be fun and wild. Whew. What about a Fiendish bandana? Maybe. Okay, let me show you guys. I mean, everyone has seen this cover already, but I actually made a poster version, which is just I made the logo, the Fiendish logo, smaller, and I think I'm going to have some prints of this. And yes, I'm going to have some giant holographic stickers of this, this is the sticker art, and this is the sticker that's going out to all backers on Fiendish 2. So this sticker and also this logo sticker. Hold on, let me full screen myself. Boop. See? Everybody on that who back Fiendish 2 is getting these two. Oh, it's thundering. We're having a storm. If the stream cuts off, it's because of the thunder. So that's what happens, and I'm sorry if that does occur. But this is like a small version. This is like 3 inches. That's what she said. But I'm going to make a large holographic version of this sticker that is just for the convention. And here's the art. So I'll be bringing that, and I'll bring some of these posters. And if I have time to make some extra art and something else, then I will. But I'm really busy. I have the auction next week. I have the covers, and I have like the wood burning stuff for the Fiendish 2 campaign. That stuff takes priority. So, you know, I don't think I'll have like too much new stuff, but I will bring some exclusive merch. Oh, con stickers too. Yeah, Tampa is going to be the last weekend of June. I mean, July. It's already July. It was not the last weekend of June. I'm just fucking stupid. So it will be the weekend of the 29th and 30th. So the end of this month, it's a month away. So if you can be there, that would be really cool. Come hang out. Stickers, bookmarks. I have some bookmarks, but I haven't, oh, you reminded me. I want to make like some Nanarsa language bookmarks someday. That would be fun, wouldn't it? Hey, it's Adam Lawson. What's up? Hello. I just unboxed your book. Adam, I did an unboxing member stream. I just got your book. Oh my God, I got Kids and Monsters. Look. It looks so cool. Hold on. Let me show you guys. I did a giant unboxing stream. And it's seriously, it's like a huge pile of books that I just had sitting there. But look at this shit. I mean, it's not shit. It's amazing. It's hardcover. And I got my hardcover Kids and Monsters edition. And it's oversized. Look how big it is. I love it. The art looks so good too. Oh, it's so good. Thank you. I love it. Yay. So hail Adam. And I also got CG Vacation. I dropped something. I got CG Vacation, and I also got Nora Saga. Look, Nora Saga. Super beautiful wraparound cover. The interiors are amazing, of course, because it's by Kelsey. So I'm looking forward to slowly reading all of that. Hopefully, I'll be able to make time. Well done, Adam. We are at the halfway point of 2023. Holy shit, I know. It's so weird. I don't know if it's like I'm just getting older, but it feels like so much happened, but also so little time passed. It's very weird. It's probably just because I'm getting old. Yeah. Hail. All right, but I think that's about it. I think I covered everybody's chats, and I'm going to let everybody go now. So, thank you all for joining me, and for joining me and Ali for another episode of the Ali and Renie World Building Show. Our next show will be the 14th, Friday the 14th, in 2 weeks. So this show with Ali is every 2 weeks, and we alternate our channels. So the next show is going to be on Ali's channel. So make sure you subscribe to her. Her information should be in the description, and we have like a playlist of our show in the description anyway. So if you want to like catch up on some older shows we have, every single time we do this world building show, we talk about writing and fantasy and how to create a different aspect of fantasy writing. So if you enjoy this, check out our older shows and subscribe to me as well. Hit like before you leave. Hitting like really helps the algorithm. Smash that like, or punch it in the face. Punch it in the face till its teeth breaks, and it gives me YouTube points. There you go. That makes sense. Anyhow, all right. That's about it. I'll see you guys next week. And I'm out. Bye, 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 bye.